Hi there, everybody. Welcome back to Leading Our Own Way. Another week, another guest, and I'm meeting many, many different types of people who have led their way out of whatever it is they've, had to lead their way out of. Many different stories, many different ways of triumphing. And today's guest is Dr. Shafer Stedron. She is just incredible. She's a neurologist, right down my alley. As you can see by some of the books I've been reading over the last year, and the direction that I've taken a lot of my study is looking into the brain and neural pathways and so on. I won't bore you with that, but it's fascinating. And she is fascinating with her story, and we dive into why she became a neurologist, her journey from being in the music industry at such a young age, at 14 years old, going into be a singer not shortly after that, and some of the things she went through. And I'll let Dr. Shafer say it and go into it, but it's she's so articulate, and I've learned so much from her in how she navigates through life, not only from the things she's had to pull herself from, and how she's handled difficult situations, but how she parents as well, and with her children. And it's a really interesting discussion. She's absolutely fascinating, and I hope you stay after the intro and really sit back and take everything in that she has to say. She's a remarkable person, and I'm sure, more than sure, that you'll be able to take a lot away. We'll be right back with Dr. Shafer Stedron. Welcome to Leading Our Own Way. I'm your host, Andrew White, and this is the podcast that unveils captivating narratives of resilience and personal triumph. This podcast is for anyone seeking inspiration and insights on overcoming life's challenges. Follow and subscribe, and then we can lead together forever. Welcome, Dr. Shafer Stedron. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you, Andrew?
I'm doing great. I've been looking forward to this all week, actually, to be honest, and I'm so excited to have you on because you're right down my alley in terms of what you do, and we've been having a great connection and relationship for the last few weeks, and I've just been excited to have you on and the things you're going to share and your journey, and I just again I feel like I'm repeating myself every week, but I feel like the people who are going to watch this are just going to take pieces of you to hopefully use in their own life to help benefit their own journey. But other than that, you just quickly, where are you in the world, Dr. Shafer?
Well, thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. I really appreciate it. And isn't that what we all want? So I am coming from Petoskey, Michigan. So northern Michigan, almost Canada, for those who don't know U.S. geography as well.
Ah, yeah, cool. Well, I'm 9:30 at night. What time is it there at the moment?
7:30 in the morning.
Wow, thanks for getting up for me.
No problem.
So tell us, what do you do in your daily life, your professional life at the moment?
Whew, that is a big answer.
Oh, I'm
I
excited.
joke, yeah, I joke that I'm the queen of pivot, and I do all of the things. And so right now, I am a neurologist, and I have really turned my life's professional focus onto life coaching and creating supportive content to help people in reclaiming their stories and building their futures. Because I myself have gone through many life challenges in recent years, and I also noticed when I was seeing patients in clinic that if we weren't coping with the life's challenges, with the limiting beliefs, with the things that really, really mattered to patients every day in and day out, there was less that I could do as a physician to help them with their problems, with their headaches, with their seizures, with other issues they had that were affecting their physical health, if we weren't dealing with the underlying root problems, the root causes of issues. And most of those have to do with our relationship to ourself and our degree of self-awareness. And so that really took me on this journey, and it has involved me becoming a Jay Shetty certified life coach, as well as me starting an entertainment company, a publishing company, going back to writing and helping other people with writing their stories with a focus on children's literature and giving them an early life voice. So really my life has gone from a life that was kind of very pigeonholed and very narrow, where I didn't feel I had a lot of agency and autonomy, to just this really big, expansive life that seems to change and evolve every single day. And it's really exciting.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I know we're going to go down all of those little paths that you just mentioned. Well, not little paths, huge paths.
Yeah.
But for those who, we have many different types of listeners because of the type of guests that I have on. For those who have never been across the word neurology before, or a neurologist, can you
Mm.
explain for those that don't know what a neurologist is and does?
Yeah. So a neurologist is someone who treats disorders of the brain, the spine, and the peripheral nervous system. We're not surgeons, although we do sometimes do procedures, even something like helping people with dystonia, doing Botox injections, doing spinal taps, people may be aware of those sorts of things. And so we work with people often after they've had an injury to the nervous system, or if they have a disorder that is affecting their nervous system as they go through life. So it's a really fascinating field, a really important field. And the thing that I love about it that really drew me to it is that marriage between mind and body, because really your body doesn't work without your mind. And
Yeah.
if we don't address the mind's needs, then the body won't function optimally. And so that's really the beauty of understanding the nervous system as I do as a neurologist, but then taking a step back and reevaluating and saying, but what's really driving the nervous system? And in traditional medicine, we're not necessarily even given the opportunity or time to address those issues. So what we can do for patients is limited if those issues are really driving the car at the moment, driving their life. If they're not addressed, then it's limited what I
Mm.
can do by giving you a prescription for a medication.
Yeah, and so what's your perception, sorry, no, that's the wrong word, but what's your belief of how the medical world functions in the moment? Are we reactive? Are we proactive? What's your thoughts on that?
Mm. Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's some variability there with your specialty and with where our research dollars are going. Some areas we're really lucky to have a lot of donors giving money and a lot of research happening and a lot of pharmaceutical interest in those fields. And so they may have pretty consistent growth in treatments and even prevention. Unfortunately, when it comes to neurology, that's often not the case. And I hearken back to when I was a medical student about to go into my residency program, and I had gone to a lecture with someone who had then become one of my mentors in neurology. And I was so excited. I had this article from a neurology journal, and they were talking about a life saving cure that they had researched that in the next 3 to 5 years was definitely going to be out and saving lives. And I'm reading this article so excited to one of my mentors, and he was like, okay, that's wonderful. We'll see what happens, right? Because from his perspective, he'd been around, he saw that, yes, these articles are written, but they don't necessarily translate to things that actually affect patients' lives. They're data points on the way to getting there, but growth is often slower than we wish. And as it turned out, that medication never bore, fruit for patients, unfortunately. And we still haven't become where we need to be with regards to that condition in our progress. So that is often the case for neurological disorders. And I hope that by being an advocate for patients and sharing my voice and stories of patients, that will just provide more inspiration for people donating to causes, to research for neurological conditions. I know, I annually will participate in walks to end Alzheimer's, things of that nature. This month is actually ALS Awareness Month. And so I will be having a guest on my show who has motor neuron disease to help share his message and encourage people to donate to research. So I'm just doing everything I can to try and promote that.
Yeah, that's absolutely fascinating. I absolutely love it. I talk to children every day about the brain, and well, no, actually, there's another point I wanted to say. You brought it up a moment about the brain and we talk about the brain and the gut connection and everything, and I think we're separating these parts. I hear it all
Mm.
the time. I hear that we're separating all these parts all the time, but everything that I read about the brain and human biology and and neuroplasticity and all of things like that, it's one big unity, and we don't seem to look at it like that, do we? We seem to separate the
Mm.
parts. I mean, that's my perception, what I get from people. But we don't treat it as a unity. Maybe we should start to look at that a little bit more. And so when I'm talking to children at school, I talk about that. Your parents might go to the gym to work on your muscles, and you can see the muscles growing, you can see the muscles changing, you can see them developing, you can see them improving, but because we can't physically see the brain, we don't act upon the brain. We don't look at making it grow and fluffy. I always talk about reading as brain exercise. I want the kids to go back to the old days where we used to go to school and just read for 5 minutes. It helps us be calm. It's brain exercise. It gets it going. I mean, I know we can go a lot deeper with food and sleep and connection and relationships and so on. But we've got to start thinking about what we put into our bodies, and sugar being one of those major problems at the moment in our foods. I know this is about your journey, and we'll get into that, but because we're on it, it's fascinating. What do you think on that side of things?
Yeah, absolutely. And when I was listening to you, I was thinking about, yes, reading. I think another really big thing to do is to challenge. So when you think about people
Absolutely.
going to the gym and they're, working on their muscles and you see the muscle being challenged, you feel the muscle being challenged,
Yeah.
and we accept that as okay, when my muscles hurt, it means my muscles getting stronger. I have to hurt to get stronger. We
Yeah.
accept that, but we have a
Yeah.
much more difficult time accepting emotional pain, in part because I think most of us were raised to think when you feel emotional pain, that's bad. Walk away, run away, get away from it as fast as possible. You're not allowed to feel that, right? That's
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah.
So we're afraid of dealing with emotional pain. But when you talk about learning and growth, you can't have learning and growth without challenging, without failure, without mistakes, without emotional pain. And I love juxtaposing it with that example of the physical pain when you're working out, because you're going to feel it. And if you don't feel it, you're
Mm.
not growing, you're not challenging yourself.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Totally. Absolutely. Okay. So how long have you been a neurologist for then?
Yeah. So I was done with my residency. I'm like thinking back, wait, it was 2015. So it'll be 10 years pretty soon.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I started that in 2011. Isn't it amazing how time goes?
Oh yeah, I know. I agree. And okay, so why neurology? Why did you choose
Mm.
to go into that field?
Yeah, so I actually went into medical school at first because I was a psychology major and I was doing research at the Kinsey Institute when I was in my psychological department in Indiana University, Bloomington. I was thinking that I was going to go become a psychiatrist. I was encouraged to do that based on my background. But then I thought dermatology was really cool. And so when you're in medicine, you're just kind of trying out all these different specialties. You're trying them on almost like clothes. And I love dermatology. To get into dermatology in the States, it's really one of those top 5% in your class situations. So you have to work really hard and do research and do all the things. And so I had done everything I needed to do to get into dermatology. And then in the 11th hour, I did my neurology rotation as a medical student. And it's just one of those things when you know, you know. And for
Yeah,
physicians, one thing we often say is that it's when you know you found your specialty, when you are so excited for each patient encounter, when you just feel this community with the patients as well as with the
mm,
team of mentors that you'll be working with. And that was really how it was. I just wanted to hear these patients' stories and help them. They were so inspiring, and I was so passionate about being there with them and helping them on their journeys. And I think also I want to share that one of the most impactful things as a physician that helps me keep going that really inspires me with regards to being a physician is the beautiful gift of when someone shares their story with you and they let you in. You've never met this person before. You walk in and you're like, hello, my name's Dr. Shafer. It's so nice to meet you. And they introduce themselves. And then pretty immediately, they're sharing with you the heart of the matter, some really challenging details, and really just bearing their soul to you because we're really not supposed to show our pain, right? We're not supposed to share our problems. In our society, it's just not very accepted. So you have this unique opportunity as a physician to really connect with people in a vulnerable and meaningful way. And when I was seeing patients with neurological problems, because those problems are so pervasive in their lives, I think that was also a unique experience. You're really welcomed into their lives, and you feel that the impact you can make is really profound.
Yeah, amazing. Absolutely incredible. You know, I feel like I'm you then at the moment because that's what you're going to do. That's what you're going to do on this podcast is be vulnerable and be safe. Hopefully you feel safe being vulnerable, but opening up about your journey in your life. So I feel like I'm going to hear your story and everybody else is going to hear it. So I kind of feel like you at the moment. I'm pretty proud of myself.
Aw. Well, Andrew, and to get back to your introduction, honestly, yes, I do feel really, really safe to be open. And I was really looking forward to having this conversation with you too, because we've had a conversation in the past. And I think, some people do have this unique gift to make people feel open and that they can share their story. And you really have that gift. So I'm so excited that you're doing your
Oh,
podcast and you're sharing that gift with people.
thank you. That was really nice to say. Um, my next question is, I suppose I would normally do it earlier on in the podcast. But how are you leading? I feel like you actually maybe have already answered it. But before we go into what else you're doing in the modern day, how do you think you are leading your own way now? Then, after you've been through it, what you've been through.
Yeah. So for me, it was recognizing that I wasn't doing that, right? Because I think
Mhm.
just like any habit in life, we just go on and on and on. We get really entrenched in our habit. And for me, actually, my best friend really kind of shook my soul and said, do you know that you matter? Do you know that your life matters? And that was really a pivotal moment for me to say, oh goodness, my life matters. I'd never been posed that question before. And it was almost a
Mm.
battle cry of, okay, so if my life matters, are the choices I'm making every day in congruence with this truth, if I accept that as
Yeah.
true? And so that really required of me a response that was worthy of the worth of my life, that I really hadn't accepted that challenge yet. I hadn't really taken on that responsibility. I was kind of in victim mode at that point in time. And so once I took that responsibility upon myself that, okay, I do want my life to be meaningful and to be mine. What do I need to do? Then every day, once you get through that realization period and what I call the messy middle of really kind of tidying up, right? Like you've got this
Mm.
closet,
Yeah.
okay, you need to take everything out, get rid of what you don't need, reorganize it make sense. After you've gone through that messy middle, then the momentum, if you really stay focused and true to what you believe, and if you really believe your life matters, then every day you're going to make choices that honor that. And that's really what I'm trying to do now with my podcast, my writing, with my life coaching, and also with the work that I do to support, my daughter is an author and she's a philanthropist and she started her own podcast after seeing mine. And so my life has just taken on this momentum that is unstoppable. And I choose every day to not stand in my own way, but rather to just allow the momentum to keep going. And when I do that, it just picks up speed faster and faster. And it's so exciting. And every day is totally different and new.
Yeah. That's amazing. So we'll come on to those projects of what you're
Yeah,
doing, and we obviously want to know more about your podcasts and the books, because we've got some beautiful pictures, and I'd love you. I know you've got some books there, and I'd like you to share them as well.
I do.
But so people can look deep into that messy area, as you said, when you got told. By the
Mm,
way, I've wrote your quote down because I think I do a guest gem, and I'm going to write this down as one of yours. As do you know you matter? I love that. But after that
mm,
question was posed to you by your friend, I really want you to just dive deep in so the viewers can take pieces of that. What did that grey area, that messy middle kind of look like? What were those small, simple steps? Like some people, if somebody's depressed in bed, the one small step would be
mm.
get out of bed, walk down your corridor, down
Yeah.
your hallway, and then go back to bed. But at least it's one step, right? The next one would be get out, go and have a shower, go back to bed, whatever. Um, that's just an example, maybe a silly one, I don't know. But for you, what were those
No.
small little
Yeah.
steps as part of your
Yeah.
recovery?
And that's beautiful, Andrew, and that's exactly what it is. It has to be small steps because if you
Yeah.
set too big of goals for yourself, you're not going to achieve them. In part because when you're in a place where you feel really disempowered, you need to shift your mindset. You need to create new data points that you can look to and say, instead of coming from a place of hopelessness, I can't do anything. Because sometimes we're in a place where our job or our partner or our family or a friend, a so-called friend, is feeding us a line of information that is telling us that we aren't enough, that we can't. Maybe that, we're fortunate, let's say we're fortunate that this job accepts our level of work because no one else would hire us. Or we're fortunate that this partner accepts us because no one else would put up with us. And so we buy into that. We believe it to be true, but really it's just a way to keep us there. And so what we need to do when we're trying to heal and create new habits and move towards a different goal is we have to have a different mindset and we have to have new data points. We have to be able to say, I am, feeling so depressed I can't get out of bed. Well, when you get out of bed, that is one data point that says, I'm so depressed and I can get out of bed, right? Like we're
Yeah, exactly.
changing the
Yeah.
momentum because the
Yeah.
I'm so depressed and I can't get out of bed is falling backwards into our past and our limiting beliefs. But I'm so depressed and I was able to get out of bed. How does that make you feel in your chest when you hear it said that way? Because for me, I really believe that propels people forward, even if it's just the tiniest step forward.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, it's rewiring of the brain, isn't it? It's rewiring of the neural
Yeah.
pathways, that neural plasticity. It can either work for you
Mm.
and it can work against you. Well, it's already worked against you because you're in your bed, you're
Exactly.
depressed, or whatever it is you're going through. It's
Exactly.
already working against you. Now it's about that messy area, as you say, to flip it and do those small simple. I mean,
Mm.
that's why New Year resolutions never work out because they're so big after week 3 or month 1. They're kind of over, aren't they? And
Right.
you wonder why
Right.
they never.
They're too big. Yeah. They're
They're
too
too
big.
big.
And
Yeah.
because you have not achieved those data points to say, you haven't set a small, attainable, achievable goal so that you could say every day, okay, I did this, I did this, I did this, because you haven't done that. Like you said, you fall back onto, oh, I set this goal, but I can't do it. And it's really important that we
Mm.
remember. So if you're having a day, right? And 99 wonderful or good things happen, but one annoying or bad thing happens, what will you recall? The bad thing, right? Because our nervous system is wired risk reward. It doesn't want to risk, it wants to avoid pain and harm. So it pays a lot of attention to the risky thing or the harmful thing, even if it's not truly harmful to us. If our nervous system experiences that way, it's going to pay a lot of attention to it. And we have to work hard to break that attention and focus and go back to, instead of falling back into those negative habits and those negative limiting beliefs, move forward. So how do we do that
Mm.
when it's such a strong impulse to focus on the negative? Well, we can potentially lean into the feeling of risk we have when we challenge ourselves, right? So when we feel that, ooh, I want to do that, but I've never done it before. Instead of leaning back, lean forward into it, do the thing that we're afraid of. And then the data point is, I was afraid of that, but I did it. And here are the gifts that happened. So now our nervous system is going to reward us for that behavior. And we can, instead of being addicted to the feeling of not enough and the feeling of, oh, look, here we go again. See, I've reinforced my belief that I can't. Now we're really excited about how it felt when we were scared, but we did that novel thing. We did that new thing, and it didn't kill us. It didn't hurt us. And in fact, it rewarded us.
Yeah. Yeah. Such good perspective and points. Well, everyone always asks the question, what is the biggest shift in your life that changed for you? I'm going to ask you, what's the smallest shift that you did initially to change your trajectory of your life?
I think, the biggest was probably just that acceptance of self-worth, right? That's huge. I think that's the elephant in the room for many of us. The
Hmm.
smallest shift that had the biggest impact was taking back my time. Because I didn't have that feeling of self-worth, my time was freely available to everyone but myself. And when you
Mm.
are on that hamster wheel of always trying to seek external approval, and you're just always trying to go, 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 you're trying to basically earn love or earn attention, earn respect by doing things for everyone else's goals, you don't have any time or attention to focus on what you want. And so when you take that time, I mean, how often do we even do that? To just literally sit down, turn off everything, and ask yourself and expect an honest answer. What do you want?
Join us tomorrow to hear more from today's incredible guests and learn valuable insights to help you lead your own way. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you then.